If you want to get ahead of 99% of pre-meds in the world, you need to be willing to do what 99% of pre-meds are not willing to do. I know it sounds obvious because every video makes it sound like it's some unbelievable secret. Wake up early, be a hospital volunteer, and turn your phone to grayscale.
What?
Yeah, that kid that got into Harvard Med School, his hospital volunteering and his gray phone got him there. If an action is common, in other words, every top hit on Google and YouTube is telling you to do something, by definition, to be more successful than every other pre-med, you must do what other pre-meds do not. Today, I'll show you 10 real examples of some of the most competitive pre-meds I have ever seen, and I'll compare that to the average actions that average pre-meds take to get average results. And to be clear, on average, 41.9% of pre-meds earned an acceptance. That means that 58.1% on average of pre-meds did not earn one single acceptance. Let's make sure we're not in that camp. Number one, stop guessing what medical schools want to see. When you start playing this game, it becomes inauthentic and not genuine to your true interests and passions. In fact, when you play this guessing game, you'll end up with the same conclusion that 85% of other pre-meds also came to. And the unfortunate consequence is that you end up looking like every single other pre-med in the country. Your application will look like scribing, hospital volunteering, some plant biology research, and soup kitchen volunteering on the weekends. In short, you end up spending more time doing things you don't like, only to become less competitive because your application is more generic. If there's ever been a blueprint to avoid, it's that one. Focus instead on your personal zone of genius, the intersection of what you're good at, what you love, and what the world needs. This will end up putting you in a lane of your own. You'll love showing up to work, you'll enjoy your volunteer opportunities, you'll spend more time in those things, and you'll become better than every other pre-med as a result. Then, because you're so skilled, you have a world-class level of impact that makes you incomparable to other pre-meds. This is the positive flywheel that you want to continue to spin again and again and again so that you stand out to your dream medical schools. Find things you love, spend more time, get better at them, make a better impact. A better impact makes you want to spend more time, and around and around and around we go. Number two, fail once, fail twice, but never quit. Oftentimes we underestimate just how many times it takes to earn an opportunity or get an experience. For example, how many emails do you think you need to send to earn one shadowing opportunity? Most pre-meds will say somewhere between 6 and 15. But even some of our most successful students have sent upwards of 20, 30, 50 emails before they landed their first shadowing opportunity. One of our students had sent 100 shadowing emails just in the last 4 weeks alone. Each of those emails and lack of responses or responses taught him something new so that he could send better emails every single batch. With those many high quality emails out, he's doing an unreasonable amount of work not to succeed. And of course, the proof is in the pudding. He sent more emails than any other pre-med in our program, and he has landed more shadowing opportunities than any other student. Of those 100 emails he sent, he's landed 3 or 4 initial shadowing opportunities, and those 3 to 4 shadowing experiences will open the door for future shadowing experiences. And to be clear, did 80 or 90% of those physicians say no? Absolutely. But because he sent 100 emails, he was in the position where 10, 15, or 20 physicians responded, and he could choose whether or not he would be able to make their shadowing appointments. I think we would all love it if we had 20 physicians email us back, even if it is to say no. And the reality is, you are not going to get 20 opportunities and 20 responses if you just send 20 emails. You'd have to have a 100% response rate. And the chances of that happening are basically 0. The problem is not you. The problem is that you simply stopped too early. Keep going through those failures because it's a signpost that success is just right around the corner. Number 3, the perfect pre-med extracurricular does not exist, so don't wait for it. Too many pre-meds will psych themselves out because they don't feel like they're a perfect fit for the opportunity right in front of them. Maybe they decide not to apply because they don't have research experience in organic chemistry in the past, or maybe they don't say yes to the shadowing opportunity because it's just a little inconvenient with their school schedule. The perfect pre-med opportunity does not exist. You really just want to make sure that you're going the right way. As long as you take steps in the right direction, no matter how small they are, you will soon get closer and closer and closer to your dream medical school. Ironically, some of those perfect extracurricular activities will require a different skill set, a different level of bandwidth, a different mindset, a different person than you are today. And taking those small, directionally correct steps will help you build those things so that when the home run opportunity comes, you are ready to take it and swing. Number 4, if you're gonna chase anything for medical school admissions, chase impact. Not titles, not leadership positions, not publications. Often, these things are overrated and do not matter as much to your medical school admissions than you think. Medical schools are looking for students with the character traits to be successful in whatever field they choose, whether it's neurology, cardiology, or orthopedic surgery. And if you're interested in Shakespearean research, public health work, and underserved communities, there's a lot to learn from those domains that you can apply eventually as a future doctor. Medical schools most want to see evidence of prior success because successful people can translate their successes there into other domains elsewhere. If they decide to put a white coat on your shoulder with the logo of their medical school program, they want to make sure that they know they're getting someone who has a track record of high-level impact. To be clear, having a publication or being a president of an organization does not matter if your organization did not do anything or your role in that lab was slim to none. Conversely, if your roles or responsibilities were significantly high in the lab or in the organization, and you just happen to not be on the publication or not be part of the executive board, that means a ton more. And just because you're not a board member doesn't mean you can't start your own initiative in the club and really make change happen. Stop chasing the fancy titles and the name on the publication. Chase instead impact, and those things actually will follow. Obviously, the best case scenario is to have both, where you have that significant responsibility and that actually leads to that significant title. But if you can optimize for one, always go for the impact over the empty title. Outfit change. Number 5, quit the experiences where you stop learning. There's this interesting narrative about dedication in pre-med circles. It's this thought that 5,000 hours of scribing and 1,000 hours of shadowing will somehow prove your dedication to the craft of medicine. And I believe that this definition of dedication comes with an insane opportunity cost. If you've seen all that you need in the first 80 hours of shadowing different physicians in different contexts and different clinics, then I don't see why you need to add another 150 hours just for the sake of adding 150 hours. I'd recommend taking that time elsewhere and doubling down on the strengths of your application and patching up some of the weaknesses of your application. The number of hours that you're in something isn't inherently impressive. Increased numbers of hours can translate to increased levels of impact, but really the impact is the thing that matters. If we can get away with low hours and high impact, that's actually the greatest place to be in. Here's a harsh truth that I didn't want to hear when I was putting on a blue polo going to hospital volunteering. I spent 343 hours going to the hospital again and again and again. Even after I recognized after the first 12 hours, I knew I wasn't gonna like it. I wasn't learning very much, and I only went because it was comfortable, and I felt like medical schools wanted to see it. I wish I took those hours, redirected them into something else that would have made me more competitive. Would doing something new be more uncomfortable than showing up to the hospital as a volunteer? Yeah, absolutely. Showing up to the hospital as a volunteer was super easy. I just sat at my desk, picked up phones, and transferred them to the nursing station. And when 11 o'clock hit, I grabbed my lunch and went home. It was comfortable, easy, and I continued to do it. But if we're looking at this from the perspective of medical school admissions, you are far more competitive leaving that comfortable thing, going on to doing something new, and while it may be uncomfortable, will add to your application. Number 6, quit taking advice from people who haven't gone into medical school or who haven't helped others get into medical school. One of the biggest problems I see in pre-med communities nowadays is that advice is often generic and not longitudinal. What this means is that you'll get advice that are meant for pre-med populations and not specific for you, and you'll get it one time without any follow-up for you to ask any appropriate questions. Pre-med Q&A panels and online forums are terrible culprits of this. The person who shared this advice will suddenly not be available when you try to implement the advice and run into a roadblock. If you're going to take pre-med advice, make sure that those people have helped others get into medical school and that they'll be available for you if you have questions down the line. Remember, Michael Jordan was one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Interestingly, he was one of the worst coaches and worst general managers. Just because you got into medical school doesn't mean that you know how to help others get into medical school. So when you are getting advice, make sure that it's specific and tailored to your situation. Number 7, don't do what everybody else is doing. This is quite literally the definition of being a generic applicant. The goal is to get to a place where you're in a category of one, incomparable to other pre-meds. If you're passionate about women's health or infectious disease, you want to make sure that those things shine through on your application, and that is how you're remembered during the admissions process. If adcoms can mix up your story with that of many other pre-meds, that maybe is a sign that you're not being truly genuine to your interests. Number 8, don't coast along. Have a clear timeline for what has to happen today, tomorrow, and next semester. You'll want to know exactly when you'll apply to medical school with all of the major milestones lined up for you. Things will absolutely change. You may not have been ready for the MCAT on your timeline, and that letter of recommendation that you were banking on may not have come through. But still, that doesn't mean you shouldn't have a timeline to set a North Star for you to aim for. When you have a goal application date in mind, you can work backwards and set the MCAT, set priorities for extracurricular activities, clinical experiences, shadowing, and letters of recommendations. You can put all of your ducks in a row if you know when it all has to be done by. A major mistake that many pre-meds make is going into this without a clear goal, drifting along, hoping everything just happens to fall in place. And while it may eventually fall in place, we don't know how long that will take, and the anxiety will build up as you're just waiting for things, hopefully, to resolve. Instead, be proactive and decisive about what needs to get done and when. Once you have all of that on a timeline, you no longer need to focus on if things will get done. You can focus all of your attention on how things will get done. Number 9, start today, not tomorrow. There are many things to complete during the pre-med journey, and we often underestimate just how much effort it takes to land a shadowing experience, an extracurricular activity, or to earn a spot in the lab. If you want to guarantee your admissions to medical school, have a bias for action today so that ball can start rolling and you can push it down the hill tomorrow. Number 10, read successful medical school applications and then do something about it. When you get inspired by somebody else's community health experience or clinical experience helping patients lose weight, you can take that spark and apply it to your own pre-med journey. You may take that inspiration and find the food and nutrition lab and apply to it on your own campus. It can feel very productive to watch day in the life videos of successful medical students or read full applications of people who have successfully gone into their dream medical schools. But it doesn't really mean anything for you unless you take what you've learned and applied it to your own application. So these are the 10 ways that you can guarantee that you get ahead of 99% of other pre-meds. And I hope that this blueprint helps you on your way to your path to your dream medical school. And if you found these 10 ways to get ahead helpful, you'll want to check out each of those in action. This video shares the most competitive medical school application I've ever seen, earning multiple top 20 acceptances and eventually ending up with a full ride scholarship to UCLA's medical school. Steve will show you exactly how he stood out to some of the most competitive schools in the nation, and I'll see you over there.